Strict parents. The topic is one that used to rest on my mind a lot when I was a child. Now that I've grown up, I feel like it's not a huge issue that affects me as I'm an adult. However, I think back to when I was younger, and I feel a video like this really would have helped me understand my situation more. My mother was strict. She is a very successful businesswoman, and that personality she used to succeed in business was also used to push me to succeed in studies. So I did succeed in studies. My peers are also high achieving. But I've heard some pretty insane stories of how strict parents have affected their children. I won't go into them, but some children have retaliated pretty severely. I did feel some type of way about how my mother brought me up. So I decided that after graduation, I would try and live on my own. I thought study was hard. I wasn't prepared that working and supporting myself was another hurdle. I wasn't in a situation where I had to support myself going through university, so I was lucky in that way, but it didn't prepare me for budgeting and factoring all living expenses. Not only that, I had difficulties finding a good paying position, so I ended up bouncing around from job to job. I felt so lonely as there was no one to talk to but the walls. I spent a lot of time on my phone, scrolling through YouTube and Facebook, trying to keep my mind occupied. I lived on my own at that time in a rental place. I always had this strange feeling that my place would get broken into. There was no fencing and no security cameras. The back door was one where not only did you have to push the lock shut, but you had to push the door a little bit extra as the door did not engage properly on the initial close. One day I came home and realized my back door was flung open. I realized I didn't give my back door that extra push on that day. I looked into my room and everything had been turned inside out. My clothes were strewn on the floor. I realized my jewelry stand had been taken and all of my electronics. Even my new electric toothbrush, which was still in the box. I lost $8,000 worth in goods. Desperate, I called my landlady. She didn't try and empathize. Instead, she put all the blame onto me for leaving my back door open. It was probably because she didn't want to be liable for any of the mess. Now I think about it, why would she put those extra security measures in for a rental property? It wasn't like it would get her any extra rent. But that was what made my place extra attractive to steal from. I called my ex-boyfriend for support. During the time we dated, I paid for almost everything and asked if he could pay for things too. He refused. Today he laughed at me and said I deserved to be robbed as I was so materialistic. I called the police in desperation. The police came half an hour later and said there was nothing they could do as he had left no fingerprints. However, they told me to keep an eye online to see if any of my things would turn up. My friend allowed me to stay at her place as I was dealing with the trauma of having my house broken into. She cared. It occurred to me, except my friend, no one really cared about me. Not my bosses, nor my co-workers, not the police, not my landlady, and not my ex-boyfriend. The outside world is cold. After that period, my mind wandered to the past. I realized at home there was fencing, security cameras, and a source of comfort and financial security. If I felt unwell, my mother would do my laundry and would cook for me. Just being able to talk to someone every day did wonders for me. Even if she did raise her voice at me, she did it because she loved me or was stressed at work, ultimately to provide for me. Now I have moved back to stay with my mother. I say I spent 3 years outside to attain my degree of life. My mother sometimes smiles at that and agrees. She will never forget the fact that I tried to make it on my own for 3 years without her. During that period, I did hurt her. For most mothers, their children are what matters the most, even if they can't express it in words. My relationship with her has greatly improved as I had to go through that experience to realize what I had. I hope my story has helped those going through strict parenting styles. Just remember that your mother is not perfect, but she's doing her best to survive in this world as well. Go home and give your mother the biggest hug and tell her you love her, because you only get one.